Ever felt like you're being pushed and pulled by forces beyond your control? Whether it's by your family, your workplace, your community, or even the media and government, you're not alone. Today, we will explore the subtle ways you're being influenced and how you can reclaim control. Gaslighting. This tactic is where one person manipulates another into questioning their reality or sanity. This tactic works very well because our brain works on a model based framework. The manipulator, by making us doubt our perceptions, making us believe our model and our understanding of things are wrong. In real life, gaslighting can involve denying facts, making someone feel crazy for their thoughts or feelings, or twisting the truth to make the victim second guess. It is one of the most powerful, often used tactic by the manipulators. Next, we have love bombing, also known as charm offensive. This tactic involves overwhelming someone with affection, attention, and praise to gain their trust and affection quickly. It's often used to create a dependency or to manipulate someone into a relationship or a particular behavior. For instance, showering someone with compliments and gifts early in the relationship. Emotional blackmail involves using threats or pressure to control someone's behavior. This can be done by exploiting the victim's fears, obligations, or sense of guilt to get what the manipulator wants. Example, using someone's past mistakes or vulnerabilities as leverage. Guilt tripping or shaming involves making someone feel bad about their actions or decisions to manipulate them into compliance. This can lead to feelings of shame or inadequacy, which can be used to control behavior. Silent treatment or ghosting involves withdrawing communication to punish or manipulate someone. This tactic can be confusing and hurtful, leaving the victim unsure of what went wrong or how to resolve the issue. Comparable to using silence as a way to control or punish someone. Devaluation or negging involves undermining someone's self esteem through subtle insults or criticism. This tactic is often used to make the victim feel insecure and more dependent on the manipulator for validation, like offering backhanded compliments that diminish self worth. Playing on insecurities involves exploiting someone's fears or weaknesses to manipulate their behavior. This tactic can be deeply damaging as it targets personal vulnerabilities, using personal insecurities as a way to control or influence decisions. Exploitation of empathy involves using someone's natural compassion and understanding to manipulate them. This can involve making someone feel responsible for the manipulator's feelings or problems. Passive aggressive behavior and insinuation. This strategy involves expressing negative feelings indirectly instead of addressing them openly. It can create confusion and tension as the aggressor avoids direct confrontation while still undermining or sabotaging. Next, we have threats, coercion, and intimidation. These tactics involve using fear or pressure to influence someone's behavior. The manipulator may use threats to gain compliance or control, creating a sense of fear or urgency, using intimidation to get what they want, like making a show of aggression or brandishing power. Aggressive jokes, sadistic humor, or cruel teasing involve using humor to belittle or demean someone. These tactics can mask harmful intentions behind a veneer of joking, making it difficult for the victim to respond without seeming overly sensitive. For instance, using humor to highlight someone's flaws or make them feel inadequate. Gossip mongering involves spreading rumors or malicious information to damage someone's character or reputation. This covert tactic can undermine trust and create conflict by influencing others' perceptions unfairly. For instance, spreading false or exaggerated rumors about someone's personal life or abilities, including undermining someone's reputation by sharing confidential or distorted information. Feigning innocence, ignorance, or playing dumb. This technique involves pretending not to understand or know something in order to avoid responsibility or accountability. Example, acting surprised or confused about a situation that you're actually familiar with. Denial and selective inattention involve refusing to acknowledge certain facts or details. This can be used to avoid uncomfortable truths or to shift focus from the issues that are inconvenient. For instance, denying something you clearly said or did, like I never said that, when there is evidence to the contrary, including ignoring important issues in a conversation to avoid addressing them. Changing the subject is a common tactic used to divert attention from an uncomfortable uncomfortable topic. It's a way of avoiding the original issue by steering the conversation in different direction. Lying involves presenting false information or misleading details. This includes various forms like omission, leaving out key details in a story to alter its meaning, equivocation, using vague or ambiguous language, creating uncertainty, concealment, hiding important facts about a situation, exaggeration, making a situation seem far worse or better than it is, understatement, downplaying the severity of a problem to minimize its impact. Big lies are significant falsehoods that are intended to mislead on a large scale, while white lies are minor falsehoods told to avoid hurting someone's feelings or to make a situation more comfortable. The manipulators use white lies to gain control and create a false sense of security. Bait and switch involves attracting someone with a misleading offer or promise and then replacing it with something less desirable. It's often used in sales or negotiation to manipulate someone into a less favorable position. Example, advertising a product at a low price but offering a more expensive option when the customer inquires. Mirroring involves mimicking someone's behavior, speech, or gestures to create a sense of connection or rapport. While it can be a natural part of social interaction, it can also be used manipulatively to gain trust or influence, involving imitating someone's body language or speech patterns to make them feel more comfortable or to build rapport and create a false sense of security, such as adopting similar opinions or interests to align with someone's views. Projection involves attributing one's own negative traits or behaviors to someone else. This tactic can be used to deflect blame or criticism and shift focus away from the projector's own issues. For instance, accusing someone else of being dishonest when you are the one lying. Fear-mongering and creating insecurity. This tactic involves generating fear or anxiety to control behavior or decision making. By making someone feel insecure, manipulators can exploit those feelings for their own gain. For instance, creating a sense of impending doom to push someone into making hasty decisions. Next up is anchoring bias and framing. Anchoring bias involves relying too heavily on the first piece of information encountered when making decisions. Framing refers to presenting information in a way that influences perception and making decision. It is one of the most commonly used tactics by marketers. Positive reinforcement, when used manipulatively, involves rewarding certain behaviors to encourage compliance or to control actions. This can create a sense of obligation or dependency on the rewards. Examples, providing excessive praise or rewards to gain favor or influence behavior, using rewards to create a sense of indebtedness, like I did this for you, so now you owe me one. Isolation involves separating someone from their support network to increase dependency on the manipulator. This can make the victim more vulnerable and easier to control, as in creating situations where the victim feels alone or unsupported. Inconsistent behavior involves unpredictable or erratic actions to create confusion and uncertainty. This can destabilize someone's sense of reality and make them more reliant on the manipulator. Illustrations, alternating between affection and criticism to keep someone off balance. Another instance, particularly in dating scenarios, is giving mixed signals about intentions or feelings, which keeps the victim emotionally hooked. Triangulation involves bringing a third party into a conflict or situation to create division and manipulate perceptions. This can be used to undermine relationships or shift blame. For instance, creating situations where others are pitted against each other to maintain control. Infantilization involves treating someone as if they were much younger or less capable than they are. This can undermine their confidence and autonomy, making them easier to control. For instance, undermining someone's competence or independence through patronizing behavior. Fake moralization or virtue signaling involves publicly expressing moral or ethical views to gain approval or appear virtuous without making meaningful changes. This can manipulate perceptions and create a false sense of moral superiority. For instance, publicly promoting certain causes while not taking real action to support them, or using moral rhetoric to deflect criticism or gain social approval. The halo effect involves allowing one's positive trait or experience to influence overall perceptions of a person or situation. This can lead to biased judgments and overlook negative aspects. For instance, assuming someone is competent in all areas because they excel in one, allowing a single positive interaction to overshadow consistent negative behavior. Towards pleasure and away from pain involves emphasizing positive outcomes or rewards to motivate behavior while downplaying or ignoring potential negative consequences. The allure of pleasure devoid of pain is often used by womanizers who highlight highlight the immediate gratification while disregarding the emotional, social, or moral costs that may arise. Door in the face technique. This tactic involves making an initially large request that's expected to be rejected, followed by a smaller, more reasonable request. The idea is that the smaller request will seem more acceptable by comparison. Next is the foot in the door technique. This strategy involves making a small request that's easy to agree to, followed by a larger request once the initial commitment has been made. The idea is that agreeing to the small request makes it harder to refuse the larger one. The yes said technique involves getting someone to agree to a series of small, easily agreeable statements or requests, creating a pattern of agreement that makes them more likely to agree to a larger request. Like getting someone to agree to a series of minor points in a conversation, eventually leading up to a larger request. Reverse psychology involves advocating for the opposite of what you actually want, hoping that the other person will be motivated to do what you actually truly desire. It's based on the idea that people often do the opposite of what they are told or asked. The good cop, bad cop technique involves two individuals taking opposing roles in a negotiation or confrontation, one being aggressive or demanding, and the other being more sympathetic or accommodating. The goal is to make the good cop's position seem more appealing by comparison. Playing the victim. This tactic involves portraying oneself as a victim of circumstances or other people's action to elicit sympathy, gain support, or avoid responsibility. For instance, using a sob story to gain favor or manipulate others into offering help or leniency. Next, we have playing the servant. This involves adopting a submissive or overly accommodating role to gain favor or avoid confrontation. The goal is to appear helpful and self sacrificing while potentially gaining control or leverage. Example: consistently putting others' needs before your own to gain their approval or manipulate their behavior. Blame shifting and scapegoating involve directing blame for problems or mistakes onto someone else. This tactic deflects responsibility and avoids accountability, as in using a specific individual or group as a scapegoat for broader issues or conflicts. The white knight tactic involves presenting oneself as a savior or protector to gain admiration or control. The manipulator purposefully creates a problem and then rushes to the rescue. The intention is to create emotional dependency among those around them, as the manipulator is the only one who can solve the problems they encounter. This role can be used to position oneself as indispensable or to manipulate others through a sense of obligation. Example: offering unsolicited help or support with the intent of manipulating outcomes or gaining favor. Dark seducers use seduction and sexual manipulation to influence others' behavior and decisions. This can involve using charm or allure to gain control or manipulate emotions, employing flirtation or seduction as a tool for manipulation rather than genuine relationship building. A strategy frequently seen in cases of sex espionage. As we have seen, manipulation comes in many forms, often hidden in plain sight. But now that you're aware of these tactics, you're better equipped to recognize when it's happening and protect yourself. Remember, taking control starts with awareness and setting strong boundaries. Stay informed, trust your instincts, and don't be afraid to stand your ground. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights on how to navigate the complexities of modern life.